It's the season for job interviews. You might have just finished your master's degree or you're just about to finish it. You're going to be applying for jobs. Part of that process is doing job interviews. People feel nervous about job interviews, and I'm telling you, you don't need to be nervous. The more you prepare, the better you're going to do, right? And when you've got that confidence that you're going to do well in that interview, you're going to put your best foot forward, you're not going to feel so nervous, right? We're going to talk particularly about the interview question. Talk to us about management and leadership skills and experience, right? I'm going to talk you through how it is that you can prepare for that question. Stick with me. Don't go away. This is super duper easy. You're going to love it. If this is your first time at the Global Health YouTube channel, thank you for coming along. I hope you enjoy. Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification if you want to get notifications of future videos. Okay, let's get into the video. This question about management and leadership experience comes up in job interviews all of the time, right? The only time it doesn't come up is if it's an entry-level job, it's your first job ever. They might not expect you to have any management or leadership experience. Fine. But as your career progresses, this comes up again and again and again in job interviews. If you prepare properly for it once, you've got that answer in your back pocket, and you'll be able to use the same kind of answer, although all going well, as your career progresses, that answer will evolve. But the structure of the answer, the framework will stay the same. And that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. Let's talk about management and leadership separately, right? Because these are usually different questions. You're unlikely to get asked one question about management and leadership. Usually they say, tell us about your management experience, or tell us about your leadership experience, or they might ask about a specific type of management, in which case the kind of answer that I'm going to teach you to prepare will work anyway. Okay, and you'll see why in just a second. Okay, when we're talking about management, you want to have clear in your mind the different kinds of management that are out there, and you want nice, clear examples against each of those. And then in an answer about management, you can use one or more of those examples. And if you illustrate those, if you frame those answers in the context of this framework, you will come across as thoughtful and competent, I promise you. Okay, so this is the framework for management. Then I'm going to tell you about the framework for leadership. Right, the 5 kinds of management I want you to think about and think of examples in your career where you can point to is managing processes, managing budgets and resources, right? That's the second one. Managing people, right? And that's performance management, managing risk, and managing change, right? Those are the 5 things, 5 areas where you can apply management skills. And against each of those headings, right, you want to think of an example of where you applied that skill set. Right, so if it's managing processes, I'm not going to describe what is meant by each of those things because I think they're reasonably self-explanatory. The key here is to have a nice, solid example. And it might, if you don't have an example in your work life, think of an example in sport or in just something that you did outside of the context of formal employment. It doesn't matter. They're interested in the competency, not in exactly the context in which you managed to illustrate that skill set. You want to show that you've got the skill set, right? There's a couple of things I want to add to that. If you're going to talk about change management, for example, you're going to talk about risk management, whatever you're going to talk about, don't just start rattling off about that particular kind of management. Tell them what it is that you're going to talk about. So when I answer a question about management in a job interview, I start my answer off by saying, I'm going to talk to you about managing people, processes, and budgets, for example. Or I might say, I'm going to talk to you about my experience in managing change and managing risk, right? So I've given them the part of the framework that I'm going to use. They know what the big headings are. Their brains are primed to receive some information about those things. You've given them the hooks, and it makes it really easy for them to listen to. Right? It makes it easy for them to engage with what you're going to say. It's not just this jumble of words coming at them. You've given them some structure. That's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is once you've talked about what you did, and that's what needs to be in the answer, what you did, not just what you know about process management or what you know about budget management. It's what did you do, right? You want to talk about what you did. Usually try to frame what you did in the context of a challenge or a problem that needed to be solved, right? Okay, stop watching the video. Stop watching the video. I want to give a quick, big thank you to Nested Knowledge for supporting the creation of this video. If you've ever gone through the struggle of doing a literature review or a systematic literature review, believe me, I know your pain. I've been there, and what I'm about to tell you is going to absolutely blow your mind. Nested Knowledge have a platform that supports the entire process, from designing your research question and search parameters to screening, tagging, and extracting the appropriate papers. The platform automatically generates visuals that you can use for qualitative analysis. So check out these interactive sunburst diagrams used to get an overview of trial endpoints. Or, and this is going to blow your mind, it can extract study results to do meta-analysis. So check out these ready for publication forest plots. And this next amazing feature is going to become, I believe, the new standard for systematic review. It's being able to publish a living document that auto-updates as more data becomes available. Okay, now things are going to get really crazy. If you're working or studying in an academic institution, then this platform is absolutely free for you. So check them out by clicking on the link in the description below. Okay, let's get on with the video. So, I was working in this environment, and this is the challenge that we were faced with. This is what I did, okay, and this was the outcome. Right, so what was the challenge? What did you do? What was the outcome? If the best answer has an outcome that's some sort of measurable outcome, this is why you need to have thought about this way before the interview. You need to be sitting down with a pen and paper, and against each of these buckets, spend however long it takes, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, thinking through the example very, very carefully. Right, what was the challenge? What did I do? What was the outcome? Right, and sometimes you could even say, like, what were the obstacles? You can build upon that if you want, but you definitely want those three components to your answer. And then here's the key, right? Before you carry on to the next bucket, you say, and this is how I believe I could apply that particular skill set in the context of the job that we're talking about today. And they will love you, right? That's the perfect interview answer. What was the challenge? What did I do? What was the outcome? And how it is that I can apply that skill set in the context of this job, right? It shows that you've thought about the job. If you can apply that formula to every answer that you give in an interview, you're cooking with gas, I promise you. Now, the exact same principles apply in answering a question about leadership, right? Leadership is a little bit more fuzzy though. Okay, people don't often have a nice, crisp, clear definition of what leadership is. That's why it's important for you to almost tell them what you think it is and then shape your answer around that, right? If you provide that clarity, they're not going to argue with you. They're not going to even disagree with you. They'll probably find it quite refreshing that you've come to the table with your own thoughts about what leadership is. And I'm happy for you to use my thoughts, by the way, if you agree with them. You may come up with a slightly different framework. That's absolutely fine, right? But if I'm answering a question about leadership, I use three buckets. Okay, and I'm just smiling to myself because I'm thinking there might be somebody watching this video who in the future interviews me and they're going to hear me saying these exact same things. Well, the answer is I prepared, right? So that's a good thing, thumbs up, right? The three aspects of leadership that I talk about in an interview is I talk about thought leadership, strategic leadership, and operational leadership. Okay, what do I mean about these things? And again, what I was talking about a few minutes ago about management, right? If you can describe the problem, what it is that you did, what the outcomes were, and how you would apply that skill set in the context of this job, all of that applies again. You want to do that in every single answer, right? And you want to start the answer by saying, I'm going to talk about leadership in the context of thought leadership, strategic leadership, and operational leadership, if you want to, right? You might want to shorten that. You might want to say, I'm going to answer that question by talking about my experience in the area of strategic and operational leadership. That's fine as well. It doesn't matter what combination of those three that you use, but tell the interviewer at the beginning of your answer how it is that you're going to structure your answer. That really, 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 really makes a difference. That's a lot of reallys. Okay, so thought leadership, right? How it is that you came up with ideas that influenced the people around you. Because what is leadership really is about a following. You are a leader in as much as other people are following you. Right, so thought leadership, you've come up with ideas, you've come up with concepts, and you've managed to change the thinking in other people. You want to provide examples of that. Again, you're not going to be able to think of examples on the fly. You have to have prepared this in advance of the interview. Strategic leadership is how it is that you manage to move an organization from one place to another. And you see, strategic leadership, it doesn't need to have been your vision. Right. Thought leadership is often you were able to like inspire a vision in other people. You had an idea, you could see things differently. You managed to bring people into a different mindset about the future. Strategic leadership can be about you were able to sort of see the strategy, and that's kind of mixed in with thought leadership. But strategic leadership is often about how you got there, how you managed to navigate the challenges in an organizational sense, bringing people with you, hence the leadership part, to get to some sort of end goal or objective, right? I'm going to make other videos about strategy, leadership, and that sort of thing. So this video is not about all of those details. It's about how to prepare for an interview. So I'm going to kind of stick to that. And then, of course, operational leadership. And operational leadership is very, very much like management, right? It's about how did I get things done? And you can use a lot of the ideas from the management type buckets, you can slot them right into operational leadership. The two things are more or less the same kind of idea. The key to answering these questions is to be well prepared, to have thought of the examples ahead of time, and to have thought about how it is that you would apply your skill set. You want to point to your skill set in the context of the job that's being advertised. All right, I know I've said that a few times, but it's so important, and people always forget to do that. Now, if you found this useful, I've got other videos on my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of videos on my YouTube channel that are about jobs and careers, etc., particularly in the public health and the global health space. But I've also got a members section, which is different from subscribing. You can become a member of the channel. So if you go to the channel, check that out. And members get access to videos that the rest of the public don't. And a lot of those videos, actually all of those videos, are about jobs and careers and interviews and how to find a job, how to get a job, how to get your CV in order, how to write a cover letter, everything about jobs and careers, particularly in the global health and the public health space, but it applies, of course, in other industries and areas as well. It's in the membership section, so check it out. Thank you for watching. Don't do drugs, always do your best. Don't ever change. Come back soon. Take care. Speak to you again at the next video. Bye.